This is John with the latest on the NFL NFC playoff race heading into Week 9. Calculations are from my free tool at playoffcomputer.appspot.com. Internet likes, shares, and subscribes are appreciated. An extended discussion of this is on the Playoff Race podcast at Spotify, Apple, and elsewhere. Usually arrives later in the week. Going over the big winners and losers from Week 8's action in the winners section. Obviously, there was a big injury for them, but strictly from a records and numbers-based viewpoint, the Vikings getting back to 500 to be in the thick of the wild card race while racking up a division and conference win gave them big gains in playoff odds. The Saints joined them at 500, and combined with losses by the Falcons and Buccaneers puts them essentially tied for the NFC South. And the Cowboys gained some separation from the masses in the wild card while improving their previously dismal conference record. And now the team's putting a big L on their helmets for at least the week. Rams, besides their own injury issues, had a chance to get back to 500, but instead fell to 3-5 and a full game behind the last wildcard spot. The Packers lost that loving feeling en route to their fourth loss in a row, and I think can now pack it in. That might have been too many puns for one sentence. Much like the Rams, the Commanders had an excellent opportunity to get back to 500, but instead fell to 3-5 with a poor conference record. And a bonus nominee for the loser section on behalf of the fantasy community goes to the Falcons and their head coach, leading the vote in the award for a person everybody previously liked but appears to be just as much of a pompous jerk as the rest of his family, as they blew a chance to stay ahead in the NFC South. Here is the overview of the NFC. Eagles and Lions, as of now, the only teams with true separation from the middle of the road teams. Eagles now a 96% chance to make the playoffs, and it looks like they could lock a spot up if everything were to go their way. Rough justice, look at the calculations. Absolute soonest in, let's see, they have a bye upcoming, so call it 4 weeks. I think if they were 10-1 by then and a lot of other things fall their way, they could theoretically have clinched a spot. Seahawks and Cowboys at 5-2. Seahawks have a slight edge between the two as they lead their division and have a better conference record were it to come down to it, but both in real good shape right now. The 49ers have stumbled to 5-3, but they still have a good conference record and even a win over the Cowboys were to be needed for tiebreaker purposes. Still a 3 out of 4 chance. 3 teams at 4-4, including half of the NFC South, all around 50-50 odds to make the playoffs. The Falcons and Vikings have a slight edge over the Saints due to superior tiebreak records. Buccaneers a half game back from 500 at around 39% to make the playoffs. Rams and Commanders, as mentioned on the Big Loser segment of the program, close to the danger zone, with the Commanders being a little worse off due to a bad 2-4 conference record for possible tiebreak purposes. 5 teams in my danger zone, with the Bears and the Panthers, despite the Panthers' win, joining the Cardinals as teams that no longer control their own destiny. There are some oddball scenarios where any of them winning out doesn't guarantee making the playoffs. That can be rejuvenated with things breaking their way, but that would require them to start doing that winning thing. The good news for everyone is that with so few teams looking like clear runaways for a spot, the number of wins estimated to be needed for a wildcard spot still sits around the 9 or maybe 10 mark. There still remain some wacky scenarios in which 6 wins sneaks in somehow, and others in which 11 wins is left out. But 10 should be very safe if attained, with 9 not being unrealistic. Looking at the division, starting with the NFC East, the Eagles continued to soar after a rough start against the Commanders. Cowboys kept pace with them. Those two play this week, which will either really let the Eagles get their playoff membership card out of the wallet or really muddle up the division. As of now, Eagles with a 70% chance to win the division. Cowboys the only other team with much hope. Computer's best guess for wins needed to take the division is still 11, but it is creeping up and approaching a middle ground between 11 and 12. In fact, TeamRankings.com projections now show both finishing neck and neck at 12 and 5. I will note the Eagles have a bit of a brutal schedule up until the end. Cowboys this week, a bye. Then Chiefs, Bills, 49ers, Cowboys again, and Seahawks. Could be why Team Rankings does have them projected to still lose a few. Thanks, as always, to them for letting me use their data. Commanders need some wins fast to get back in the picture. Giants at 2 and 6 do appear, per the computer, to still control their own destiny if they want to rattle off 9 straight. In the NFC North, it wasn't easy, but the Lions got back on track with a win over the Raiders to keep a 2-game lead over the Vikings. As with the NFC East, this also appears to just be a 2-team race. Lions with a 71% chance to win the division, Vikings with most of the remaining percentages. Both teams have what I would say are fairly friendly schedules for the rest of the year. If the Vikings can somehow hang in there after the loss of their starting QB, these two teams don't play until the end of the season nears. Packers and Bears in trouble. As mentioned, the Bears no longer control their own destiny. Packers could be joining them soon. Computer says just 10 wins will be needed to win the division. Again, 9-ish should be good enough for a wildcard spot. Team Rankings has the Lions maintaining this 2-game lead for the division, with the Vikings projected to hit that 9 mark and have that be good enough. In the topsy-turvy NFC South, Falcons the best of the division, and I use the word best very liberally. 4 and 4 along with the Saints. Buccaneers at 3 and 4. Falcons have a win over the Bucs, while the Bucs have a win over the Saints. Doesn't look like any division games coming up in the next couple weeks to help shake things out. Falcons now a 40% chance to win the division and near 50-50 to make the playoffs. Saints trailing those numbers a bit in each column, with the Buccaneers on a 3-game skid to ruin a promising start. Current estimate is 9, maybe 10 wins will be needed to take the division, same as for a wild card. Team Rankings projections now show only the Saints going to the playoffs with 9 wins and the division, but clearly this division may be entertaining all year to watch for the division race, if not to watch for good football. There appears to be a flaw with my graphics, as it is not showing the 49ers in first place in the NFC West. Wait, that is correct. Seahawks now in charge after winning 2 in a row, while the 49ers sink like gold in a river. Rams have dropped 2 in a row to really dent their chances. Seahawks currently about 50-50 to win the division, 49ers a notch above 40%. Those two teams still have a few weeks before they play each other. Rams with any leftover scraps in the odds. Computer guess for wins needed to take the division is right in the middle between 10 and 11. Team Rankings projections show the 49ers getting back on track to take it, with the Seahawks right behind and grabbing a wild card. Rams may need a miracle to be anything but also-rans. The Cardinals are firmly entrenched as also-rans. There are 4 intra-conference NFC games this week. Looking at how their outcomes affect the non-combatants, Bears at Saints. Just about every team is better off of a Bears win to knock the Saints backwards in the wildcard race. Other than the Lions, as a Saints win would pretty much eliminate the Bears from contending in that division. Rams at Packers. A couple teams would be better off with a Rams win, interestingly, including the Lions, Cowboys, Eagles, and Commanders. Everyone else should root for the Packers. Vikings at Falcons. Only the other NFC South teams would be better off with a Vikings win. All others would gain with a Falcons win. And the easy one, Cowboys at Eagles. Everyone would benefit from an Eagles win to knock the Cowboys back down to earth in the wildcard race. That's it for now. Again, my site is playoffcomputer.appspot.com. Please check it out if you play in or in particular commish a fantasy or other sports league or want to support this mission in Stack Geekery. Enjoy your day.